guys in the dark.
My mom had been calling me a lot. It was my first semester away at college, and her husband had gone batshit crazy. He hit her for the first time 4 months prior before I had moved out. She locked him out of the house, and he banged on the doors. In the middle of the night, he had driven away, and I hadn't seen him since. When I answered, she said that she had gotten a phone call while she was watching TV. The person on the other end of the line said that he had been hired to kill her and her kids, but if she would make him a better offer, he wouldn't do it at all. He told her what TV show she was watching. He told her what dorm I lived in. He told her that my little brother was upstairs playing video games when he was supposed to be asleep. She ran upstairs. My little brother was playing video games in his room at the time. She yelled at him to pack a bag. The person on the phone had hung up. She had called me. I waited for 45 minutes before leaving, hoping that my roommate would show up and help me figure out what to do. I said to call the police, but my mother had said no. She said please come help her. My roommates didn't come home at all. The RA was gone. I got into my truck, made a 45-minute drive in 20 minutes. The highway was nearly deserted at the time. I'd hope a police officer would pull me over. They'd know what to do, and I'd be able to say that I hadn't called the cops. I had accidentally missed my turn when my mom called me 3 times in a row. I accidentally ran a red light when I had answered her. A cop was right there. He didn't pull me over. When I got to our neighborhood, I parked 2 streets away and used my ROTC tactical movements to go through the alleys to our backyard. I tried to call my mother 3 times, but she didn't answer me. I put my phone on vibrate. The gate was closed, but when I opened it, I saw the back door was standing wide open, light from the kitchen partially illuminating the patio. No one was out there. I hesitated and went in, calling out softly for our chihuahuas. They weren't there. Shit. Those dogs bark at everything. They were either not in the house, or they were dead. I got a knife from the kitchen, and then started a room-by-room search. Kitchen and laundry room were clear. I refused to check the garage. Dining room, it was all clear. The living room, clear. But oh hell, there's a broken vase. Downstairs bathroom was clear. I didn't go into the master bedroom because I fully expected to find my mother dead. I needed to go upstairs to the second bedroom to the right, my bedroom, to go get my rifle, the only gun in the house. But no one was downstairs, and upstairs was completely dark. There was a blind corner right in the top of the stairs. Anyone could be hiding there waiting for me. I was 100% freaking out as I climbed up the stairs. I got almost halfway up when someone started banging on the front door, which is right in front of the stairs. I froze. I turned halfway so that no one could surprise me from the second floor. "Who's there?" I yelled. My cover was already blown anyways. If anyone was in the house, they knew that I was there now. Whoever was outside could see me through the glass at the top of the door, but it was too dark for me to see them. No one had answered, but they kept pounding on the door. "Who the fuck is it?" I had screamed. Now at the base of the steps, they kept banging on the door. "I'll kill you, motherfucker," I screamed, as I flung open the door to see my mother standing there with the chihuahuas in her arms. "Why the hell didn't you answer me?" I asked her. She said she wasn't sure if it was me or not, and if it hadn't been me, what were you going to do? Throw the dogs at them? She hadn't thought that far ahead. I told her the back door had been open, but she said it had been locked when she left. I said that I'd checked most of downstairs, and I was going upstairs for the gun. She told me to go up and get it. So I went up with my knife. I checked upstairs while I was at it. When I checked the rest of the downstairs, she'd taken my brother to my friend's house, which is why she hadn't answered her phone when I had called her. She had been driving. I spent the whole night barricading the doors and windows and begging her to leave, just leave the house. She baked me some cookies. Her face was blue and purple from her husband's last visit. She told me that my brother had tried to protect her, and he didn't look great either. I said that I would kill her husband. She said that she knew, and so did he, which is why he always left when they called me. I feel that I should mention that I am a girl, and that he is a good foot taller than me, easily 50 pounds heavier as well, but I would have killed him. In the morning, I had to leave early to be at PT for ROTC at 5:30 a.m. I had been maybe 45 minutes asleep when my mom had asked me to stay on the living room floor outside of the master bedroom. I had lost it at PT, and then again in my weekly meeting with my athletes advisor. My ROTC instructor and my athletics advisor were horrified. We got a restraining order that day against my mom's husband. He couldn't come on campus. I wasn't allowed to walk on campus alone either. My roommates also got extra security. A few weeks later, my mother's husband tried to kill her on my 19th birthday. He was in his car, and he'd thrown her phone, which she was using to dial 911, on the passenger seat. She had reached in to go get it, and he grabbed her arm, held on while he reversed out of the driveway, and then dragged her down the alleyway. He let her go, and her head had slammed on the ground. She had a concussion. He tried to back over her, but she screamed and rolled away. He ran over her foot and her hand. Our neighbor came out of her house and screamed, which scared him away. My mom and brother went into hiding that very night. Being on those stairs, certain that my family was dead, and I was already about to die, that was the scariest moment of my life. And having someone bang on the door and not answer when I'm screaming at them, having to open it while thinking a killer was on the other side, that was the creepiest thing ever. I was 6 or 7 years old, in my parents' apartment, and heading towards the kitchen. There's a small hallway corridor that starts with the front door. After about 5 feet, there's the door to the kitchen to the right, and the door to the living room to the left. And 2 feet further away, the corridor turns to the right and continues to the bedrooms from where I was approaching. So I go towards the kitchen where my mom is talking on the phone, cooking with the oven on and the oven fan on. And at the end of the corridor, in front of me, I can see the front door opening up and halting because of the door chain holding it. I thought that it was my dad. It was about 11 in the morning, so I think that my dad will close the door and ring the doorbell for my mother to go open up the chain. It was weird, because I hadn't heard the key turning. Except nobody rings the door, and an enormous hairy hand that definitely doesn't belong to my father tries to pull open the chain. I immediately understand that it's a burglar, and I rush to slam the door shut with my entire body, while I whine a little bit. And I could have managed it, if the burglar didn't think to put his foot in as an extra stopper. So there's me, slamming against the door with all of my 7-year-old strength, panicked out of my mind, and then putting all my weight against the infernal piece of wood, with a huge burglar on the other side trying to keep the door open so that he can pull off the chain, fingers trying to grasp the end of the chain, and my mother completely oblivious about the 12 foot away on the next room. I tried to scream at my mother. I remember yelling muffled pieces of "Mom! Mom!" but she thinks that I'm horsing around and pays no attention to me. It's after my 7th or 8th scream, when I was about to give up hope, when I heard my mother tell the person on the other end of the line that she'll call her back, because I've done something and she needed to go check up on me. The burglar had heard her, and let me close the door. My mom arrives, and demands to know what I'm doing. I'm crying at that point, not being able to utter a coherent sentence, trying to point at the door, saying only "burglar out," or something to that effect. My mother, who's not getting the hint, comes over and tries to open up the door to see what the fuss is about, with me still pushing against it with my back. As soon as I realized what she was about to do, I tried to push her away, crying and sobbing at her. "Please don't open the door. There's a burglar outside." I had to fall on my ass, then on my knees, and beg her against trying to push me aside, before she decided to change her mind and see through the peephole instead of opening up that door. So she looks through it in a hurry and starts saying, "See? There's nobody there." And I see her very annoyed face turned pale as a sheet all of a sudden. She grabs me and pushes away from the door and tells me to get her phone. I rush into the kitchen, and I heard her yell through the door, "I can see you crouching. You're right behind the door. I'm not going to open up, and I'm calling the police right this minute." The bastard was still behind the door, crouching as low as he could, not making a single sound. So my mom would think that nobody was outside, and then she would open up the door, and he would rush inside. My mom called the police. After about 5 minutes of my mom issuing threats to the door, we heard somebody creeping away from the hallway and down to the building entrance and outside the building door. My mom was white as a sheet, not making a sound or expressing any emotion throughout the whole ordeal. It was as if she was scared stiff. About half an hour later, my father arrives, oblivious to the whole thing. When my mom told him what had happened, he went and got a new lock and a better door chain. The police had arrived that afternoon, a full 5 hours later, even though the police station is a 10-minute drive from our house. I really don't think that burglar was ever caught. We never heard anything about it afterwards. A few years back, I rented an apartment from a friend of mine. He had recently bought it and had it completely renovated. He put it up for sale, but couldn't find a buyer, so I'd offered to rent it in the meantime. After moving in, I realized that there was something wrong with the lady next door. She was about 45, but she looked much older than that. She would sit up all night listening to Christian radio shows and would be talking loudly to somebody. It got to the point where I couldn't sleep, so I went over to her place, asked her to keep it down. She opened her door, and I got a quick peek. Her walkway had all crosses painted on them in different colors, and words like Jesus and angels scribbled everywhere. The windows were painted black, letting no light in at all. It was damp, yellow-stained, 50-year-old carpets, dog shit, and cockroaches everywhere. No dog, though. I asked her to please keep it down. She just looked at me, shut the door, and then she turns up the radio even louder. The very next night, I had my girlfriend staying over. I wake up in the middle of the night and see a shadow of a person next to the bed looking at us sleeping. I think that I'm hallucinating, as I usually do in the dark when I'm sleepy. But then the shadow starts talking. It's my neighbor, and she's holding something in her hand. She broke in during the night, and who knows how long she had stood there. You should lock your door at night, she says, and then walks out. The next morning I hear someone making strange noises below my bedroom window. It's my neighbor talking to herself in tongue. She has a plastic bag in her hand, with a rotting dead dog inside. It's hot as hell outside, and I can smell death from that bag. At this point, I'm scared shitless. She's obviously very insane. I go upstairs and knock on another person's door and ask what the hell is going on. The guy is just as scared as I am. Apparently she broke into his apartment one evening as well while he was watching TV with his children. He got up from the couch to go get a snack, only to find her behind the couch staring at him, holding a power drill. Now I know what was in her hand. At this stage, I'm basically shitting myself. I call the cops, and they know all about her. Apparently she is a violent schizophrenic, and she hasn't taken her meds at all. But they can't force her or enter her apartment without her permission because she owns it. The only thing that they can do is get her when she goes outside. I sit up for the next 2 days waiting for her to run out of cigarettes. When I hear her leave at 2 o'clock in the morning to go across the road to the 7-Eleven, I call the police. They have 3 cars and a special van over in less than 2 minutes. They restrain her and throw her in the van and drive off to some institution. And in less than a minute, it's like she was never there. I haven't seen her since then. Still have nightmares about her looking at me in my sleep to this very day. My cousin works at a truck stop in Kansas. She told me about some guy who parks his truck and then got out. And then a woman got out of the passenger seat. It was kind of cold, so the trucker was wearing a coat and a hat, but the woman was wearing summer clothing. My cousin thought nothing about it and did her whole "Hi, welcome in" routine. The trucker bought a coffee, but the woman had just stood there in the doorway. Now my cousin was freaked out. She didn't want to be rude, but she was a teenage girl alone in a gas station in the middle of nowhere. "Excuse me, miss. Do you need anything?" she had asked. "Who are you talking to?" the truck driver asked when he got out to the checkout. "The woman who had gotten out of your truck." My cousin had pointed, but the woman had suddenly disappeared. She told me that she had never seen a look of such pure terror on a man's face before. He just whispered a quiet, "Oh no," got his coffee, and then suddenly left. The woman did not get back into his truck, and my cousin couldn't find her in the store afterwards. She says that it was one of the most terrifying experiences that she had ever had while on that job.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.